Hi everybody, it's Anne with Art on the Creek. Hello. We have an awful lot of supplies to get through, and I promise you it won't all be in one video. But Phoenix Art Supply Company has sent things to me, and I am so delighted to share these with you. I don't even know what's in the boxes. It's been a while. It's been sitting here. I don't quite remember. I do remember some of it has to do with oil and some of it has to do with watercolor. And in these boxes, I cannot remember it all. So let's discover it together. Look at this. Not one, not two, but whoops, but 3 boxes. Oh my goodness, you guys, I'm so excited. Are you ready? Let's get to it. Oh my gosh, there are so many supplies. I don't even know where to begin. I think today I do want to work on watercolor though. I did find out, of course, after I opened these, what they sent, and it is some watercolor, some brushes, these oil paint sticks, which are water soluble, and a dual set of palette knives, which is this double Phoenix box here. So let's skip ahead to the watercolor section, and I'll save this footage for when we get into these water soluble oil sticks. Since I'm doing a voiceover, I do have the benefit of hindsight, and I know that this box will have to do with today's lesson. This is a beautiful set of watercolor canvases. Now, I don't know, I had never heard of a watercolor canvas. Granted, once I'm set with something, I kind of don't go out looking anymore, so that could be on me. Maybe these have been around for a long time and I just didn't even know it. I do know about watercolor boards, the clay boards that you can get for watercolor, but a canvas, I have never seen these before, so I'm pretty excited. They are 100% cotton, 260 grams. They're very, very fun to work with, and they have all the information on them right here. You can kind of read that if you want to. And of course, I will have affiliate links in the description where you can take advantage of some of these wonderful art supplies if that's something that you're interested in. So here is the other canvas. This is like a traditional canvas that you would use for acrylic or oil, and you can kind of see the weave is pretty thick. This one, it's more like orange peel, like a wall texture. If your walls aren't textured that way, that won't make sense to you, but it kind of makes sense to me because my walls are textured that way. But it's more of a texture that's very close to watercolor paper than it is that woven texture of a canvas. So now let's dive into these boxes here and let's see what we can do with the watercolor situation. I think this first box probably has something in it that we need. I'm pretty excited about this packaging. Like I mentioned, anything that really feels good in the hand. I'm a very tactile person, and that makes a difference to me. I like the buff exterior of these boxes. I like the gold accents. I like this embossed design on here. I'm really happy to be able to share this with you because these boxes, I'll get into them in just a second, but they're really, really fun to use, to repurpose afterwards. The embossed information is a Phoenix, and it says Phoenix Fine Artist Materials. Their little logo is stamped on there. And let's see what else comes in here. You've got a little pamphlet and this very staticky little little thing on my finger there. These boxes, here's how I reuse them. You can use them in your desk and just put several things in there, and then they're nice and short, so you can close even the shallowest desk drawer. They fit so well, so if you have a space to use them, hang on to those boxes because I really do like them. I think it's a good thing to do. Let's just open this brochure here really quickly. It looks like their total range includes 57 colors, and they do include all of the typical information on here. And like I said, it's just their light fastness levels just say less light fast, good light fast, and extremely light fast. But I couldn't find any information as to which scale they use to test that. It might be proprietary. It might be something else entirely. So I will just put that out there for you. One thing that I think is a huge plus, it is AP certified, which means that none of the ingredients in these paints are harmful. As many of you know, a lot of the traditional art materials have become known to be carcinogens, and now we can use this set with complete confidence that we won't be exposed to anything that might hurt us. So that's always nice to know in case you're using this with younger people, or if you really don't want to be exposed to those things yourself. I always say, though, no matter what you're using, wash your hands when you're done with your art session, because it's always a good idea. Comes with this nice little swatch card. Of note, on the swatch card, the pigment information is not printed, but everything else is. So if you wanted to keep track of that and write that on the swatch card, then kind of make note of it on all of these little wrappers that are around the pans. Let's talk about this palette for just a second. It's a traditional enamel tin palette with the finger hold there, and then all of that mixing space. You can take that tray out, and the middle section, you can either put more half pans in there, or you can put brush and pencil, whatever you want to, in there. So these are really very good standard tins. I like that it doesn't wobble. It lays down flat. Everything about it is really quite nice. So let me just pull one of these out here, and we'll kind of take a look to see what this half pan looks like. So on the sides here, you have a color number, the transparency, light fastness, pigment information, that it's AP certified, and then now we're going to try and open it up. And I'm going to fumble with this one for a minute, so forgive me. But what you're dealing with here is a set of 24 half pans. Really a lot of watercolor. And I'm not going to tell you how much they are charging on the website now or anything like that. I will tell you that I did get this as a gift from Phoenix to show to you guys and to share with you. And I'm very grateful for that. The reason that I don't like talking about prices is that the way that the current economy is in our world, I have no idea how that's going to change or where that's going to be in your area. So in my area right now, these are very affordable. They're very approachable for getting 24 half pans, and I think it's a pretty darn good set. So if that's something that you're interested in, then, you know, I've got those links in the description if that's something that you would like to pursue. Now, before I get into unwrapping all of these, let me just set these aside for a minute, because I do want to open up one of these other boxes, and I suspect we can find the one that has paintbrushes in it. So let's just set these aside here, and we'll go for this one box that was a single pack. The other two there that are up on the top of the screen, those were packed together as a set. So let's try this one here. And first I have to do my mental gymnastics to figure out that it is a magnetic flap, which I really like. Very secure way to store things. And you could reuse this as a gift box. I personally don't store my brushes this way, but if that's something that you wanted to do, you could certainly keep using this box as brush storage. All of these are quill brushes, which is something that is very new to me. I've never used quill brushes before, and I'll put the content of the fibers along the bottom of the screen here, and you guys can see what that is. But here we go. Now, when you're looking at a quill or a mop brush like this, this is a number 6, really big, very lovely point, by the way, on that, and very excited to get into this, because I do not have any quill brushes to speak of. I really just have not gotten into them. This is a number 6 round brush as a comparison. So this is what I'm used to, is the one on the top, a round brush. But this is a quill brush. I've sometimes heard them called mop brushes. They hold a lot of water, and I'm really excited to get into these. This is going to be an adventure for me, because this is something completely out of my comfort zone. I am very comfortable with watercolor, but I've never used these brushes before. Let alone by Phoenix, but quills in general. I just don't use them. I see a lot of people who do use them and love them, but I have just never had a reason to use them. So today I'm really excited to show these to you. We have a 2, a 4, a 6, and a 0. And it looks like a pretty thorough set. I'm really getting into this magnet closure. I kind of like it. It's fun to play with and very secure. I like that a lot. Which brings us to a watercolor canvas. What the heck? I'm just shocked. I didn't even know these things existed. And, you know, I've had a few times around the planet. I kind of thought that I was aware of most all things that existed in art, but obviously I'm not. Have you guys tried these before? Let me know in the comments if that's something that you're already familiar with. But, you know, like I said, the aqua board, things like that, the clay covered boards, I'm very familiar with those. I love using them. So I'm very excited to try this, because it's just different enough that I really want to throw some things at it and see what it can handle. So it wasn't a technical difficulty, it was user error. I forgot to turn the camera on when I was drawing this for you guys, but I will tell you I used a watercolor pencil. It's a Faber-Castell Arbor Magenta watercolor pencil. And I chose that color kind of carefully, because I knew I was going to be using a lot of browns and yellows on this painting, and I knew that the magenta would mix with those colors to give a more deep earthy tone. So I wanted to use that rather than a green or a blue, for instance. Before we paint our cat, though, we do need to get all of these paints open, and I want to swatch them out too. I'm going to just use this little swatch card here today. This particular section of the video is at 20 times the normal speed. They were very easy to open. I did end up using that craft knife, as you can see, to just kind of lift them apart. It's the paper is wrapped around there, and then if you lift on the UPC side like this, I just get that knife in there, and then you can peel it all off together with the plastic. Took me a few to figure that out, but that worked really well. So let me bend this back in, and then we'll pop this one in here. And now you guys can see our freshly opened set of 24 half pans. Aren't they beautiful? Really, they look very nice. From the surface, they don't look chalky. They have the right amount of sheen to them. So far, I'm very intrigued. Let's get them swatched. I'm so excited to use one of these brushes. I'll just pick up the smallest one here. It is the 0, and you can see it's got the Phoenix brand stamped in there, and it does say on the brush, it says the number of what it is. So this is a size 0 Phoenix, and then the series 3715. And again, the fiber content of that brush is right across the bottom of the screen there for you. Okay, let's zoom in, and I will do this a little bit sped up too, but when I first test paints, I like to not spray them. The reason that I do that is because I live in an extremely dry climate here, and I'm also at altitude, so things dry very quickly. And I like to see what these paints are going to be like without any preparation. So far, I've done one, I know, but so far I'm very happy with them. Even after using them, I felt that they really re-wet very easily from the get-go. So I was not at all frustrated. The only one that I thought had a little bit of issue here is this one here, the new Gamboge. You can see when I paint with it, it's a little bit streaky. Now, I'm okay with that for now for this little swatch. I'm very, very willing to admit that this might be the concentration of the paint that I have on there, but I want you to see, you can see all the brush lines in that one. It's just a little bit streaky. Not at all what I'm accustomed to with a watercolor, but I'm not letting that dissuade me. I'm just going to continue to have fun. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and speed up the swatch, and we can see how the rest of them come out in these little swatch boxes. I'll run through the colors here, left to right, top to bottom. We have lemon yellow, Aeolian yellow, new Gamboge, Phoenix orange, cadmium free red, permanent rose, quinacridone magenta, Phoenix violet, cerulean blue, French ultramarine, Phoenix blue-green shade, Prussian blue, cobalt turquoise light, Phoenix green yellow shade, sap green, hunter's green, Phoenix green blue shade, Phoenix green blue shade, yellow ochre, raw umber, burnt umber, Indian red, Van Dyke brown, Payne's gray, and then finally here we have this lamp black. The thing that I can tell you that I noticed, a couple of things that stood out to me, is that the Payne's gray really reads more like an indigo, and that's absolutely fine. Payne's gray tends to be one of those colors that when you find a brand that you like, that's the one you should stick with. I will use this. I love this shade. I think it's very, very nice. As you can see, I hope you can see anyway, the only one that gave me the issues with the streaking was that new Gamboge. I really like that Payne's gray, and you know which other one I really liked was the Indian red. I thought that was very, very lovely. Not seeing a lot of granulation, but after they've dried now, I can definitely see that we do have some granulation in that French ultramarine, which is to be expected. And I think that they'd be fun to use. So I really like the selections here. You have in your palette of 24. Now let's try mixing a few things. I've got some ultramarine going here, and I'm going to mix it with the burnt umber. I'm trying to make a gray. Typically I will use a burnt sienna and mix that with ultramarine, but let's see what we can come up with here. And that's not bad. That's a good shadow color. It's fairly transparent, which is fine. I'm sure I could make it a little more concentrated if I kept mixing. But from what I found today, I found that these paints don't really have an intense pigment load. Now, that's with a huge amount of asterisks. That could be my experience of after just one use. So please keep that in mind, that this particular video is only after the first use. And we're going to get to painting that cat here, I promise you, in just a little bit. I just want you to see how these mixes come out on some other paper, because I do want to know how they act on paper. I had so much fun with them on the canvases, you guys. It was really incredible, and I'm so excited to get to that point of the video. But I do want to go over these mixes with you here first, just so you can kind of see how they perform. Let's take that ultramarine and let's mix it with some of the Indian red. Sometimes I like to use a cooler shadow tone, and this makes a really nice mix if you get that deep, deep purple. And I really like the way this one was kind of acting on the palette. I don't know if you can see, but the colors kind of wanted to stay separated, and that makes for a lot of fun when you're painting, because that means that things are really going to separate on the page, and I can pick that up with my eye. I don't know if you guys can. The monitor may not be telling you everything that you need to see in this paint, but I'm very, very pleased to see how the separation is working on that particular mix. Now I just want to go in with the straight ultramarine, and that's got a nice amount of pigment to it. I'm very pleased with that. Let's go in with a little bit more, and oh yeah, it's just me. It's that I'm just not mixing enough and getting enough on my brush, because I'm really quite pleased with the way that this ultramarine is acting. So let's have some fun here. Let's just put some water drops on here and see what happens when we force some cauliflower blooms wet into wet, and then we'll do some more over here on the dry to see how these kind of just explode into those beautiful starbursts that I love, the happy little accidents that can happen that you can actually create on purpose. These things are really great for texture, flowers in the field, clouds, animal fur. You can do a lot with cauliflower blooms, so don't discount them. If you end up getting one in your painting and you didn't intend it, I love adding texture in my art, and one of my favorite things to do is to take those happy accidents of cauliflower blooms and backgrounds and turn them into part of the texture of the piece. And you'll see that happen on the cat here, as a matter of fact. We're going to mix a little bit of that cadmium-free red with the Phoenix Green blue shade. I want to see what kind of a purple we can get. This Phoenix Green blue shade is a PG7 or an emerald green. So, you know, whenever you mix emerald green with a red, you do get this lovely purple, and it's just a really nice clear purple to mix, and I do enjoy it very much. And I like the way that that one came out. Now let's try a little bit with some sap green and some of that cadmium-free red, because now we should be able to get like that ruddy reddish green that you see a lot in landscapes or in some tree leaves or houseplants, succulents, anything where a green is going to transition into a red. This sap green mixed with permanent rose would be a really nice mix for you. And also, as you can see, it makes a nice brown shade or tan shade. So keep that in mind if you're mixing for skin tones. That's certainly something you can do there. Now I want to play with this Payne's Gray a little bit. I really like this shade. I think it's a nice deep blue. Any kind of indigo leaning, dark blue leaning Payne's Gray is always fun to use. Now sometimes they're a little more on the gray side, sometimes they're a little bit more on the blue side. This one tends to be a little bit more blue, but I love it because it's about the color of blue jeans, and that is something that is just near and dear to me, and I just love the color, and I think that this Payne's Gray is going to be a whole lot of fun to work with, and I really like how it just plays on the paper when I give it some water. So checking out our little texture section again, I really like how the granulation is coming up in that ultramarine, and of course the separation of the pigments over there on those little starburst dots of cauliflower blooms that we got are really pretty cool. So now let's play with a little bit of the hooker's green here. And let's see what that one looks like. That's a very bright hooker's green. But I'm going to just look into the sap green a little bit, and then we'll go over here into, I think that's the burnt umber. I'm going to try and mix this a little bit to see if I can get an olive green. So the sap green with the burnt umber, yes, you get a beautiful olive green, and I really like that. You can kind of see those two greens together at the bottom of this swatch I'm working on now. The one on the left, the hooker's green, is much cooler than that sap green. Now let's test the quinacridone magenta and mix it with the cerulean blue. This is very close to your printer ink palette. The CMY palette really got some beautiful translucent purple will come out of this, and I like how it's working on the paper. So let's just throw some yellow in there and see if we can get some green to emerge. We're just going to play with this a little bit. We'll put a little bit more of the magenta on there, the quinacridone magenta, and get it to mix with some of this cerulean. There you go. You can see some of the green coming out in the yellow area, and I'll just continue to mix these here. And I think these are going to be great. You can do a CMY palette. You can do any kind of earth palette that you've got. You can do florals with these, portraits, animals, anything that you want to paint. This set will have it covered for you. You will not go wrong with this selection of colors. Excellent selection of colors. So let's put that to work. Let's test that on our cat here. Now I am going to speed this up just a little bit. If you would like a full-length tutorial on how I did this on the canvas, that will be over on my membership platform. Now my channel members get a lot of benefits, and there's a link in the description to becoming a channel member. If you click on it, you won't instantly become a member, but you can click on that link and see which membership tier is right for you. They are paid memberships, and I do have a tier that's just about right for every single budget. So 3 different tiers. One of the best benefits to becoming a channel member with Art on the Creek is that you do receive monthly happy mail, and that is something from me that you will get, either a sticker of my artwork, a print, a postcard, or a bookmark, or a sample of some art supplies. So lots of things can be coming your way in your mailbox, which is always fun. You can get something actually physically in the mail instead of an email. Now, if you prefer to receive email, that is also one of the benefits. For the Pikes Peak tier, I do an e-newsletter every month. So if you're interested in checking out the membership tiers that I offer on Art on the Creek and you want to know more about it, just look down in the description and click on that link there, and you can learn more about becoming a channel member. So let's get started on this. Like I said, this is all new to me. I don't really know what this is going to be like. And first touch, it feels like paper. I'm very thrilled to tell you that this is really cool. The yellow's going down well, by the way. I really enjoy this. I'm using that smallest brush again, and just starting with the eyes. Whenever I'm painting animals, I either like to start with the eyes or end with the eyes. For me personally, it's easier to start with the eye, at least to get the iris in, the first layer of it, because I don't want to be painting away and then have the this blank socket of eye staring back at me. So I just like doing the eyes first. Dropping in some more of the warmer tones here to just get kind of a gradient feel. And now let's speed this up, and I will tell you a little bit about it as I'm going along. The first thing I noticed was that the watercolor pencil acted exactly as I expected it to, which was great because I wanted it to dissolve and mix in with the colors that I was putting on the paper. Excuse me, on the canvas. This is not paper. I had to keep telling myself that throughout, that this is not paper. Look how this works though, how it performs wet on wet. So for the cat's ear here, I'm just going to slow this down to regular speed. I loved how the texture showed through so easily on these color mixes that I was putting in. We're going to put some dark shade down in the crook of the ear there, and you can see how when it hits this other paint, this wet on wet, look at that, it just merges perfectly. It continues to change as time goes on, which is what I really like about working on this canvas. The paint stays active for a very long time, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm in a very dry climate. That's something that's really cool to be able to work with, and you can kind of see that dark color that I added has merged its way up near the top of the ear. So let's speed this up again, and you can really see how these colors play and merge with the wet on wet techniques that I used here in this cat. In fact, I would say that the wet on wet and the extended work time of this by using this canvas really was delightful. Look at this. Look at all this texture that comes up on his fur. And in my mind, I love letting texture work for me. And in this case, I thought that this canvas was so great for painting fur. Now, I did end up using the lamp black. I was really pleased with it. I'm a firm believer in when I get a new set of watercolors to test, I like to really just test every color that they put in there. Normally I like to use a limited palette and mix my colors, but if you are brand new to watercolor and this is the set you chose, I think you'd like to see how these paints perform on their own and how they play. And this one, I can tell you, this entire set plays very well together, and it plays excellently on this canvas. I was just blown away. That's all I can say. I was really flabbergasted with how well this worked. You can see on the cheeks there I put in an awful lot of water, and then I can use a paper towel to blot things up. It can handle the water. It can handle blotting up. The canvas itself does not get disturbed like a paper can if you work with it too much. The canvas just doesn't. It just stays so nicely. Now I'm working with this darker background over here. I'm mixing in the lamp black and some of the ultramarine, and I've got this big fat mop brush. Oh, was that fun to use. And like I told you guys in the beginning, I don't use these quill brushes ever. I think I might start using them now. I wanted to kind of make the cat disappear into the darkness there on the one side, as if he's standing looking out the window. I think that's what he was doing in the reference photo, but I wanted to be able to convey that. And I really, really like the way this one came out. I'm trying to play around with some textures in the background, trying to decide what I want to do. And I think what I ended up deciding was just to leave the background kind of smooth. And here's the other thing that's worked so well with this. If you are using a heat tool on it to dry, it dries really quickly. I was just thrilled. Everything that I threw at this really worked. Now, the only thing I did not test was masking fluid. I don't really use masking fluid a lot in my art, so I just really didn't even think of it, to be honest with you. But if masking fluid is something that you would like to see, let me know in the comments. And in the subsequent videos where I use these again, I will test masking fluid on these canvases, and we can see how well they hold up to that. I love that they dried so quickly. You can see that background that happened there just to the on the left side of the background, and I love it. It just looks like some light is pouring in behind the cat there and highlighting the certain sides of his features. Now, I did add some white ink here to this. It's a bleed-proof white, and I wanted to use that for the whiskers. And I am also using a brush that I'm a little more confident with because whiskers are very thin, and I wanted to make sure that I had a good handle on everything. But here is the cat. I can tell you 100% that these Phoenix watercolor canvases may have unlocked a new treasure for me. That and these quill brushes. I had no idea what I was missing out. If you guys have already worked with these canvases or worked with the quill brushes, tell me everything that you love about them in the comments, because I honestly, true opinion, I cannot say enough fun things about these. This cat just, I loved it. I love the creation process. I loved everything about it. And I really, really think that it had to do with the brushes that I was using and this canvas. This watercolor treated canvas was just really exquisite. The paints are great. Let's work with them again. Let's continue to put them through their paces because I really do want to use them on other surfaces, and I want to do some canvas again. So stay tuned, you guys. We'll keep working on this these Phoenix Art Supplies, and look for that playlist, because remember, we still have to go over the water-soluble oil sticks too. So we'll have probably 4 videos altogether on these products, and I hope you guys stick around and learn more about Phoenix Art Supplies. Okay, everybody, stay creative. Have a great day. See you soon. Bye now.